When most people think about Adolf Hitler's rise to power, they often think about speeches, rallies, and political strategy. But behind all of this was something even more powerful: propaganda. The Nazi regime did not rely on force alone to gain control of Germany. They relied on controlling information. They shaped how people thought. They shaped what people believed. And eventually, they shaped reality itself. Propaganda is information designed to influence people's opinions or behavior. It is not always based on facts. Sometimes it is based on emotion, sometimes fear, sometimes pride. The goal of propaganda is not to inform, it is to persuade. And the Nazi Party became one of the most effective users of propaganda in modern history. Adolf Hitler believed that controlling the minds of the people was just as important as controlling the government. In his book Mein Kampf, he wrote about the importance of appealing to emotion rather than logic. He believed messages should be simple. Ideas should be repeated constantly. Propaganda should target the masses. Instead of complicated arguments, he focused on powerful slogans and emotional language. After becoming chancellor in 1933, Hitler quickly created a government department dedicated entirely to propaganda. This was the Reich Ministry of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda. It was led by Joseph Goebbels. Goebbels believed propaganda should reach every part of daily life. His goal was to ensure that people heard Nazi ideas, people saw Nazi ideas, people believed Nazi ideas at all times. One of the first steps taken by the Nazis was to control the press. Newspapers that criticized the government were shut down. Editors who opposed Nazi policies were removed. Journalists were told what they could and could not publish. Soon, most newspapers were either controlled by the state or operated under strict guidelines. This meant that the government could control the flow of information. The Nazis understood that radio was a powerful tool. Unlike newspapers, radio could reach people instantly, and it did not require literacy. The government produced a cheap radio called the Volksempfänger, or People's Receiver. It was designed to be affordable for ordinary Germans. By the late 1930s, millions of homes had one. Through radio broadcasts, Hitler's speeches could reach the entire nation. Families gathered to listen. Messages were repeated again and again. Film was another important propaganda tool. The Nazis used movies to promote their ideology and glorify their leadership. Some films portrayed Germany as strong and united. Others spread negative stereotypes about certain groups. The government carefully monitored the film industry to ensure that movies supported Nazi values. Even entertainment films were expected to reflect political ideas. Visual imagery was everywhere. Posters showed Hitler as a heroic figure. Symbols like the swastika were displayed on buildings, flags, and uniforms. Public spaces were filled with messages promoting national unity and loyalty. These visuals were designed to create a sense of belonging. They also created pressure to conform. Large rallies were another key part of Nazi propaganda. Events such as the Nuremberg rallies brought together thousands of supporters. Participants marched together, wore uniforms, displayed flags. These events created a powerful emotional experience. They made individuals feel like part of something larger than themselves. Hitler's speeches at these rallies were carefully staged for maximum impact. Propaganda was not limited to adults. Children were also targeted. School textbooks were rewritten to reflect Nazi ideology. Teachers were expected to promote loyalty to the state. Youth organizations like the Hitler Youth encouraged young people to embrace Nazi values. This ensured that propaganda reached future generations. Nazi propaganda also focused on identifying enemies. Communists, political opponents, and minority groups were portrayed as threats to Germany. These messages were repeated in newspapers, radio broadcasts, posters, films. Over time, these ideas became normalized. Propaganda was effective for several reasons. Repetition, messages were repeated constantly. Emotion, it appealed to fear and pride. Simplicity, ideas were easy to understand. Control, opposing views were suppressed. Combined with economic hardship and political instability, propaganda helped the Nazis gain public support. Propaganda alone did not bring Hitler to power, but it played a critical role. It shaped public opinion, it weakened opposition, and it helped create an image of strength and unity. By controlling information, the Nazis were able to control perception, and perception can be just as powerful as reality. The next episode is even more shocking. Subscribe now so you don't miss it.